Well, hi, Pete. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for meeting with me. And let's talk about your phobias. You have phobias. What are your phobias?
Scared of heights
Mm-hmm.
and claustrophobia.
Okay. So let's pick one of those, given that we don't have a lot of time. And let's pick one of those and decide which one of those you'd like to take a look at, get a little help with today. Which one would that be?
Probably afraid of heights.
Heights? And tell me about the fear of heights. How did that start?
Yeah, it started back in '85. I didn't know I even had it until there's a park in Lockport called Delwood Park. They got this huge walk bridge that goes over the park. And I had a friend that was down below, and I told him to take a picture of me sitting up on the bridge. And he took a picture of me, and then I told him, I said, you better get up here. I said, I can't move.
Hmm.
And I froze up, and I tried real hard to move my muscles to get myself to turn around, but I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found out back in '85 that I had a fear of heights. So I kind of stayed away. I noticed when I even went in a career of driving a truck, Texas has some real high, overpasses.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I noticed if I looked down, I would start feeling a little bit uneasy.
Okay.
So then I would just look straight ahead and pretend like I was on flat ground by looking at the, ramp and just following the road.
Great. You're already giving me a lot of terrific information, so we're going to go over this again. So let's go back to '85. What was it that caused you to freeze? Was it looking down? Was
Yeah.
it looking out?
No, looking down.
Looking down. Okay. And how high were you?
To me, back in '85, it looked pretty high, because when I looked down, it was
20, 30, 40 feet more?
Yeah, I would have to say it seemed like it was about 30 feet. Yeah, it probably was about 30 feet, maybe.
Okay. And then you froze, and your friend came up, and then what happened?
I told him to grab me around the body and just yank me backwards.
Okay.
And then when he did that, I was, okay and able to move
Okay.
myself.
And he pulled you back enough that you couldn't see down anymore?
Right.
Is that
I think
it?
that's probably what it was.
Okay.
Because as he's pulling me, I'm going back like this.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So then, when was the last time this fear of heights was triggered for you? When was the last time you remember, even if it was a little low anxiety?
Oh, low anxiety was when I was in Texas.
Okay.
And I was driving a truck at the time. And Texas has some real huge overpasses. And if you look down, I noticed right away I was starting to pick up the uneasiness. And then I said, I better not, look down anymore, because I'm driving a tractor trailer now. So I just kept on looking at the pavement, and it didn't bother me.
Okay. So and you basically kept looking ahead, okay?
Right.
Okay. What kinds of things now for you trigger the uneasiness about heights?
Well, I basically stay away from heights. That's why I'm kind of, like if I go to a bike trail or something, and there's, say a cliff, I don't even want to get near there, afraid that something might happen. But I haven't, besides those two incidents, I try to stay away anything that has height to it.
Such as, what do you
Like
avoid?
a cliff or say, I notice sometimes when I go on bridges.
Like footbridges, or actually driving across a bridge?
Driving across a bridge.
Okay. And then when you're driving across the bridge, you're, I assume, trying not to look down? What do you...
in other words, when I pick it up is when I look out and I see it's way down there, and then I just go back and do the same thing that I always done before, just look at the road.
Just look at the road. Okay,
Right.
okay. So how about elevators,
Elevators, not
No.
so much.
balconies?
That's a good question because as far as balconies, the most I ever look is from a second story, and it didn't bother me.
Okay.
But now, for instance, like say carnival rides where you get in the chute, that,
Like a Ferris wheel.
yeah, like a Ferris wheel,
Yeah.
I always had to close my eyes.
Okay. Okay. And how about stairwells? Coming down a stairwell?
No,
No.
unless maybe I'm looking over.
Okay.
But
you
you
you wouldn't.
No,
You
I
would
wouldn't.
avoid
I'd just be looking at the next.
steps.
Right.
Mhm. So the stairwells, the down is a trigger, and so you're trying to cope by just looking at where your feet are.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about photos or movies that have like
Well, there
like
was
aerial views, that kind
Well,
of thing?
the only photo or movie that you might say would be the Omni Max in the Chicago Museum.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was sitting in there and they had these aerial things, and it was a good feeling, but I always had to trigger my mind and say it's a movie.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep, I do.
It's like being scared and saying, well, it's only a movie.
That's right.
Right.
Good for you. So then how about photos?
Photos, not so much.
Okay. How about ladders?
Ladders, yes.
Steps? Step stools, things like that.
Yeah, if it's high enough, yes.
How high does it have to be?
Well, I know on a ladder, if I would have to say it would have to be like 20 feet or so.
Oh, so you can go up on a step stool.
Yeah,
No problem.
yeah.
Okay, okay. So then, what goes through your mind that frightens you about heights?
I don't know, it's the feeling. It's almost like a loss of control or something,
What do you mean loss of control, Pete?
You get this feeling like you're going to lose it. And there's something, I don't know, in my body that starts, it's almost like it's kind of hard to explain. It's loss of control and this feeling that, I don't know, like you're falling or something.
So you feel like you're falling.
Right.
Okay. What is that? What is the feeling that you're picking up on? What are the sensations that you're picking up on that's telling you I'm falling, or is it I'm falling, or I might be falling, or?
That I might be falling.
Okay. And what sensations or experiences are you picking up on that's suggesting?
It's, it's a feeling that you're almost in flight.
Meaning?
In other words, you start sweating and you feel like you're losing it. That's what I was trying to get to. It's like you're actually going through it, but you're not in the action yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you're sweating, you're feeling it, but you're not doing the action.
Okay. And so if we go back to the original situation in '85,
Right.
where you looked down and you were frozen, what were you feeling at that moment? Were you feeling those same kinds of things at that moment?
No, I was actually, at that first situation, I was actually feeling just, frozen.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't feel nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, when I used to be in, like I said, certain circumstances, like one time I was climbing a tree,
Mm-hmm.
and I was cutting off these branches, and then I noticed that I almost started going into this, the description that I mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
And that's when that came into play.
Okay. So then if you, let's say you were on a ladder,
Right,
okay, that was high enough,
right.
and that, what do you imagine would happen?
I would freeze up.
Okay. And that sounds like the freezing up scares you. The freezing up.
Right.
Why, what are you thinking will happen being up on a ladder and freezing like that? What are you predicting will happen?
I don't know. Because be honest with you, if it's something that I could figure out and cure myself, it would be nice. But
That's
I
okay.
can't.
That's okay. You're
Right.
absolutely right. One of the things that what we want to try to clarify today is the role of your thinking in your fear.
Right.
Right? Right? So it sounds like being frozen like that scares you when you're at heights. Okay? So let's go back to 85 and you were on the bridge and you froze. What do you imagine would have happened if your friend hadn't been there? What do you think would have happened?
I think probably still would have been there until somebody pulled me out.
Okay. So wonder if no one was there.
If nobody was there, I think I probably would have been in the same situation because, like I said, I was trying to move myself. I even moved my feet, and I couldn't do it.
Okay. And so that frozenness, what is it about that scares you now?
Well, the thing that I'm afraid of is I might be in a situation like, let's just say, a situation where a friend invites you hiking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, in other words, I would feel bad having to let a group down
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't do my part.
Mm-hmm.
And I start climbing, and next thing you know, hey, I'm stuck up there.
Okay.
And then I got to depend on everybody else to, try to unfreeze me from where I'm at this height.
Okay.
So that's basically, I think, I don't know.
So
I
so
think
what
that's
kind of makes this dangerous for you, what scares you, is that you could be in a certain situation that is embarrassing.
Well, not embarrassing is more of putting other people in, say, dangerous situation.
So you see that they would be in danger too.
Right.
Do you think they would see themselves as in danger?
No, they probably would just take it on, and you're talking about maybe helping me out, or or are you saying?
Well, like when your friend came up and pulled you away,
Right.
do you see that he was in danger?
No.
But why were you in danger?
I was in danger because I couldn't get out of the situation I was in.
Okay. Let's say you hadn't been able to get out of the situation. What do you predict would have happened?
Just I probably would have stayed there until something gave up.
Yeah? Like how long do you think that would take?
I don't know.
Right? So if you, how long do you think it would take for you to become fatigued and have to sit down?
Yeah, fatigue and not sitting down. If I'm doing an activity or just like standing up?
No, like standing up frozen.
Oh, that's a good question too. I don't know. I would have to say maybe an hour or so.
An hour. So you could be standing there an hour?
Right.
Okay. And why do you think you freeze?
I don't know. It had something to do with the projection of the distance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but as soon as I looked down and I saw that I was pretty high up there, I don't know, something in my brain just kind of freaked out.
Well, what happened to you is what happens when one of the things that can happen for us when we're afraid. So, have you ever seen films of small animals, fawns, that are out, small deer that are out, and what happens when they think a predator's around? Do you know what happens?
Oh, they freeze. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, they freeze. And why do you think they freeze?
Because, well, I'm thinking because probably they know not to move.
Yeah, and why, if they do, you're absolutely right. But why don't they want to move?
Because I'm thinking they don't want to move because they don't want the predator to see that they're alive and
That's
there's
right.
their meal.
So could we look at that then, like, actually for the fawn, moving is dangerous, not moving is not dangerous?
That's a good way of looking at it.
So, but it sounds like for you, not moving, at least in your, is dangerous.
Right.
Okay. But it sounds like your body and mind saw a danger, or what it perceived as danger, and what your body did is freeze.
Right.
Another thing that our body does when we are in danger is what? We escape.
Oh, yeah, right.
If we can.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so often that's our first instinct, is to escape a situation in which we fear for our lives or our safety. And another alternative, if escape is not possible, is sometimes we'll freeze. Or if escaping actually is more dangerous than freezing. So at that moment, do you think it was possible that you made a very quick decision that actually moving at this particular point was more dangerous than staying still?
No, you're quite right, because
Okay.
that's right.
Okay.
I was afraid being up that high at that narrow edge.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, because that's what I was thinking, but I mean, I was thinking that I was probably going to make a mistake and fall.
Okay.
Right.
So you were going to make, if you had taken a step backwards, how likely do you think that would have resulted in you falling?
A step backwards. No.
0 to 100, where 100 is guaranteed to happen, 0, no way. How likely do you think you would have fallen by taking a step backwards?
Well, if I would have taken a step backwards, I think it would be 0.
How likely do you think it would have been fallen if you had taken 2 steps backwards?
I would have been safer and safer.
Okay. So then freezing, as you were you really, was freezing dangerous?
No. I'll be honest with you, it probably was safe.
Yeah. You were actually safer,
Right.
right? So then the problem, though, of course, is that you're seeing danger in the height where there may not be danger,
Right.
right? So what happened is that you saw that you were in danger, you evaluated the situation as dangerous, and then your body took care of you.
Right.
Right? So I know you had mentioned that, you feel out of control when you're frozen like that. Right? But is that really true? Or are you actually in more control?
Maybe in more control, but just didn't understand it.
Exactly, Pete. That's exactly right. So is the fawn that's frozen in less control or in more control?
I would say more control.
That's
now
right.
that,
Why more control?
well, in the sense that it was trying to be safe.
That's right. That's right. So you actually were safer at that moment.
That's right.
Okay. So the problem, of course, is that when you looked down, you saw danger. What was the danger you saw when you looked down? I know you saw a drop, but where was the danger? Because you said, my friend came in and my friend wouldn't see himself in danger pulling me away. What was the danger there? What were you predicting might happen if you had taken a step closer?
If I would have taken a step closer.
Yeah.
Forward?
Yeah. What do you predict would have happened?
Not good.
Okay, tell me, what do you think? What's going through your head right now when you think about it?
Well, when you're telling me take a step forward, I'm thinking I'm going to be gone.
Okay, but you're predicting what's going to happen.
That I'll be falling.
How would that happen?
If I went forward?
So were you on a bridge with no?
Yeah, I was sitting on this like concrete fence.
I see. And then there was the drop over.
Oh yeah, I was at the edge.
Okay.
My feet were hanging.
Okay. So when you looked down, though, thank you for clarifying that. So you're sitting on this, I guess, ledge, and there's a drop there.
Right.
And your friend's shooting up and taking a picture.
Right.
So if your friend was sitting there and he looked down, would you predict he would be afraid?
I don't know, because I notice not all people have that.
That's right.
But now I think I know where the control I could have probably gotten out of it. See, because when I was frozen, I still was looking down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, if I probably would have elevated my head upwards, I probably would have unfroze myself.
That's right. That's very good. So let's use the
Okay.
fawn analogy, right?
Yeah.
Fawn hears a sound, thinks predator, has the evaluation danger, possible danger, freezes, is listening. Sound goes away. What happens to the fawn?
He starts moving.
Starts moving, right? So you look down, fear, you freeze, just like the fawn. It's quite possible that if you had looked up, the danger would have disappeared and you would have moved.
Yeah.
Okay. But on that, sitting there, what was the prediction you were making that was the danger? How likely, if you had sat there, do you believe, 0 to 100, where 100 is guaranteed, you would have fallen?
That I would have fallen?
That you would have fallen. If you had sit there, if you just sat there, how likely, 0 to 100?
Well, the only way I can answer that, if I didn't make the adjustment with my head and I fatigued, I probably would have fallen.
If you had really sat there long enough and hour after hour after hour after hour after hour,
I think I probably would have fallen.
you would have either fallen forward
Right.
or back.
Back.
Yeah. But how long do you think you could have sat there safely?
Well, I would have to say probably be maybe 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay. Before certainly you fatigue.
Right.
Okay. So you could have sat there safely for 2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay. Could you do that today?
Would sit on there for 2 hours?
Just hypothetically.
Oh yeah, I think so.
And how would you do that?
What do you mean?
How would you cope? What would you do?
Oh, you mean on being in the same situation
Yeah.
I was in?
Yeah.
Well, after what you just told me, I think I could probably get out of it now.
Okay. Okay. So one way you would cope right now if it were to happen is that you just look up.
Look up, and I probably would start moving
around. Okay. Okay. That's great. All right. So what you're talking about, Pete, and you're doing a great job, is that what you're saying is that what happens sometimes for people with phobias is they get stuck on dreading this experience and don't think through what they would do if they had this experience.
You know, that's right.
That's right.
Because I'm just thinking now with the phobia I have being locked up in a small box, all you have to do is relax and you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thought right
That's
there,
right.
what you're telling me.
That's a truth. So that thought lowers your anxiety?
Oh yeah, because basically what really bends you out of shape is the anxiety.
That's right. Absolutely. That's absolutely right. So now were you that to happen again, you'd know what to do.
Exactly.
Okay. Now the thing is that the next step of what we would do here is that we would have you test this out and practice it, which would be if we had a ladder, which we don't.
Right, right.
We have a step stool, but that's not going to do it. A step stool is not going to do enough for you. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's definitely correct.
Okay.
Right.
So if we had a ladder, what I'd have you do is we'd have the ladder as part of a series of situations in which I would ask you to practice being with this feeling, okay, until you became more comfortable with the feeling, including the feeling of feeling frozen.
Right.
Right? And one of the things that would help you with that is to recognize that, you know, I can always unfreeze myself when the time comes.
Right.
Okay. So then we would have perhaps you standing on a high ladder,
Mm-hmm.
looking down, looking around, and that kind of thing. Because the key ingredient in actually treating a phobia is exposure. But what we've done right here that's been helpful is helping you actually see how your thinking contributes to your fear.
Correct.
And for you, the freezing thing is the scariest part of it, because you haven't really thought through, like, well, if I froze in a situation, what would I do? And so your thinking had kind of like been stuck on the freezing and not like, well, what could I do
Right.
in that
Exactly.
situation? Right?
Exactly.
At the same time, it's really important for you to kind of practice these things and being able to actually do it in steps, you know. And
Right.
so certainly this isn't necessarily going to solve the problem completely and totally, right? But it will make these next steps of actually doing the exposures easier for you,
Oh, exactly.
you know, where you can actually be in these situations. And at the same time, it's really important that you kind of go toward your anxiety, go toward the fear. So if you're like standing on a balcony, for you to actually practice looking down, looking around, stepping closer, you know, looking down and around, and these various situations that you identified, right? So let's kind of talk through about like what a ladder of situations would look like for you to kind of like work toward overcoming your fear. Like if we were going to build a ladder ourselves, you know, of situations that would trigger low fear and situations that would trigger medium fear and situations which would trigger high fear, what would the low steps look like on the ladder?
I would have to say it would probably be about maybe 10 feet would be low.
Okay, so on a ladder 10 feet tall. Okay, all right. That would be on the low end. Middle end,
The middle one would be 20 feet.
Okay,
And I would say anything going past 20 feet would probably
be high. Okay, all right. Now, when you climb now, or do you go up ladders?
Well, I go up ladders, but 10 feet is about as
Okay, 10 feet is as high as you go. Okay. Now, if you were thinking of going up a 20-foot ladder, and let's say you, for some reason, you had to do it, okay? You had to go up a 20-foot ladder to change a light, and nobody else could do it, and it was only you. How would you do it?
I think I probably would wear some kind of a harness first.
Okay, you would wear a harness, okay?
Right. And then I can probably muster it up going up the ladder.
Okay. And why would you put on a harness?
Just in case I fell.
Okay. And so let's say you didn't put on a harness. Let's say you went up a 20-foot ladder. How likely do you think it would be 0 to 100, where 100 is guaranteed you're going to fall and 0 is not at all? How likely do you think that you would fall?
Well, because I freeze, I don't know if I would fall, but I know it would probably be around 50%, I would say.
50% if you froze or you didn't freeze?
Right, if I didn't freeze.
If you didn't freeze, okay.
Right.
So, so how long do you think you could stand on that ladder? How long do you think you'd have to stand on that ladder to convince yourself that you weren't going to fall?
Oh, that I wasn't going to fall? I probably wouldn't take me, I don't think, 15 minutes.
15 minutes. So if we were going to do an exposure today, here's what this exposure would look like. We'd have you go up the ladder. We would start on the low end, 10 feet. We wouldn't have a safety harness. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Why do you think we wouldn't have a safety harness?
Because it might throw off the experiment?
Yes, exactly, Pete. You're way out of
Okay.
it. And what is the experiment?
We want you to have the phobia activated.
Okay.
Right.
And I like the term experiment. We're testing out a prediction.
Right.
You're predicting, what 50% means is that if you went up that ladder 10 times, and each one of those 10 times you stayed there 15 minutes, half of those times you would fall.
Right.
How does that sound?
That doesn't sound too good, but
Well, but does that sound right as you hear
Uh,
that?
well,
Does that sound correct?
that I fall 50% of
The
the
time.
Mm.
Meaning that if you went up that ladder 10 times,
10 times, that five
5 times you'd fall.
I don't know. It doesn't sound right for some reason.
It doesn't sound, you think it may be lower?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's probably right. Because if that were true, probably the Federal Safety Commission would probably outlaw ladders, right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
So, okay,
Exactly.
exactly.
Not good odds.
That's right. So your initial prediction
Right.
is 50% likelihood I'm going to fall. Then I kind of rephrased it and you go, well, actually, 50%, now that you put it that way, sounds a little high.
It does.
So now what do you think it really is?
I think it's probably less than that.
It's probably less
Maybe
than
1 or 2%.
maybe 1 or 2%, which means that you'd have to go up the ladder 100 times before you fell once.
Right.
Okay. So what we'd want to do is then have you go up the ladder 100 times. Okay, so if you went up the ladder 100 times, one of those times you would fall according to your prediction. But what if you didn't? What would you have learned?
Well, I probably would have learned that I don't have a phobia.
Do you mean by that like there's no reason for me to be afraid of heights? Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what it would mean to me.
That's exactly right, Pete. And so what we would do is we would test that prediction out by doing an exposure. So if you went up the ladder 100 times, your prediction would be now, well, maybe once. And then we'd do an experiment. I like the word you used, experiment. We'd do an experiment. We'd have you go up that ladder 100 times, okay? And stay there for how long you believe you need to learn you're not in danger. And you said maybe 15 minutes. So we'd have you
Right.
go up the ladder. You'd stay there 15 minutes and to see. And then you'd come back down again. And then we put you back up there. And you do that 100 times over the course of a couple of days. You know, I wouldn't want you to do it 100 times in a row because
Right,
it'd probably
right.
take a lot of time.
Right.
But over the course of several days, we'd have you do that. And like you said, at the end, if you never fell in that 100 times, you would have learned something new. You would have learned, I'm not in danger when I'm on a step ladder, right? Right now you believe I am in danger. So now you have learned two things. One is ladders are dangerous, heights are dangerous, but now you would have learned something new. Heights aren't dangerous,
Right.
okay? And that would help you be in that situation. And then we would then move to other situations where the fear of heights would come up for you and and do the same kinds of exposures to protect you from those encounters. So yes, we can help you overcome your fear of if you're on a ladder, but what about balconies? You know, we want to make sure that new learning is attached to the balconies too, and then overpasses, and then until you can drive and do things in your life worrying less about triggering this phobic response.
Right.
And then your life would be very different.
Yes, I would.
How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds great.
That sounds great. And so that's what the treatment looks like, right? So let's go back, and why don't we take a look at what is helpful about what we talked about today. Like, what do you want to take from this meeting to think about and noodle a little bit more and say, you know, what stands out in your mind that's been the most helpful today?
Oh, the most helpful is that you made me understand and also put what I interpret into perspective, because it was kind of off-key. But it did have meaning in the sense that if I looked at it a different way and then made some adjustments, then I'm able to do what I'm supposed to do. And that's the thing that I like about the session, even though you mentioned earlier that we probably can't cure you, but I got a feeling I probably got a big step ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
In the
I
sense
do.
that I already feel that I probably won't have it no more because now I'm almost anxious to put it into use.
So you're actually excited about
Oh
testing it
yeah,
out.
exactly.
That's
And
great.
what I'm going to do is look down, freeze, and then look up and start moving again.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Now, then also, the freeze comes from the fear,
Right.
okay? Looking down still, in a sense, in your mind is dangerous.
Right.
What's dangerous about looking down?
Well, if I'm tapped into my brain real good, I want to say is because I could be down there.
Okay.
That's what's scaring me.
That is true, is that if you fell,
Right.
you're absolutely right, but it's the if,
Okay.
right? Right? If you fell, yes, you would be badly hurt.
Exactly.
This is how your mind and body protects you.
Okay.
Your mind says danger, and then your body responds. It freezes, it backs away, it becomes anxious. That's your body's and mind's way of protecting you. The problem is the if, which is the prediction. Looking down from a height, you predict means there's a high likelihood you're going to fall.
Right.
If you look down, is that the same as falling?
Well, the reason why I would say yes is because it's freezing me up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it wasn't the case, I wouldn't freeze. At least if I'm, kind of giving you the understanding of what I think it is.
Okay, well that's great. So let's look at that. So looking down is not in itself dangerous, except for you what makes it dangerous is you look down and then you freeze.
Right.
Okay? What is it about looking down and freezing that's dangerous? And in fact, the
looking down
freezing
and freezing is not dangerous.
Okay, then what's dangerous?
Well, when you put it that way, that's not the danger because that's the safety.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right. That's
what I learned.
That's right. That's what your body's protecting.
Yeah, and that's what I misinterpret because if you remember early on, I told you that was dangerous.
That was the thing that was,
Yeah.
exactly. Right.
So-
So now when you look down, let's say you looked down but there was no freeze.
Oh, that'd be really fantastic.
Wouldn't it be great?
Yeah.
So looking down now, let's imagine you don't freeze, all right? You look down. Is it dangerous?
Well, no.
No. So really what made it dangerous for you is the freezing.
Right.
Okay, all right. And so what we did is we actually helped you see, actually that's not dangerous at all. In fact, that's your body and that's your body protecting you.
Right,
Actually.
exactly.
And in fact, freezing, you're safer in that instant by not moving
Right.
than moving.
Right.
Okay. And the problem, of course, is that you weren't really in danger,
No.
right? But
No.
your body didn't know that. Your body follows your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So your mind says, danger. And your body says, well, then I'm going to protect Pete. Pete's not moving right now.
Right.
Okay? Right? So you were actually safer.
Exactly.
Right? So now, how likely do you think it is, 0 to 100, that if you look down, you're going to freeze?
I don't know. 0 to 100. If now I would have to say, I'll give myself maybe 20.
Okay, that's terrific. So that means like if we had you look down from a particular height 20 times, one of those are 10 times, 2 of those times you would freeze.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
If it's
Okay. And so we could test that out. Right? And so if the freezing is about the fear, as you get ready to do this, what could you tell yourself that would help with the fear?
Well, the thing is, that I'm thinking is because I understand now, and I think that's what it was, is I was afraid That's why, if you remember me saying early on, I said I never try to put myself in those situations. So that means I'm kind of closing the door on it. And now I have a better understanding that I really don't think I would be afraid anymore or fear it. So he kind of opened up my mind in a sense that he gave me a perspective.
That's great.
That I didn't know.
That's terrific. That's what I was hoping to do today. This is fantastic. All right, so let's take the last example of your driving, okay? And you drive over an overpass, and you look down. Are you in danger?
No.
Why aren't you in danger?
Because I think I would be relaxed, you know.
Okay. And how likely do you think looking down while you're driving is going to result in you freezing?
I would say that I wouldn't freeze.
And why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I just feel comfortable with the interpretation that I was able to process in my head, because I got a feeling maybe, you know, the wrong interpretation, I might have kind of locked myself up.
Exactly.
And that's the only thing I can say.
No, Pete, that's very well said. Because really the problem was that you saw something that was there, a response that was there to protect you. You saw that as being in danger.
Exactly.
Right? In that particular situation.
Right.
You know, if you froze in another situation, you probably wouldn't see it as dangerous. You might see it as peculiar, you know,
right.
But you might not necessarily see it as dangerous. But in that situation, you know, looking down, freezing, you know, you viewed that as being in danger. And people with specific phobias can have these kinds of beliefs, not just about the danger of the situation. You have a situational phobia, not just the situation, but also fearful of their response in the situation. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to have a panic attack. Sometimes I'm going to freak out in a situation. For you, it's the freezing, that I'm going to have this experience in this situation that actually is going to put me in danger.
Right, right.
Okay. And what we looked at is that really true? You know, and it sounds like that was really helpful.
Oh, no, that was very helpful.
Okay. All right. So if you're going to work out a plan to kind of help you practice this, what would the plan look like?
I would probably go with a friend, maybe, say like Starved Rock, and just kind of maybe look at the overview or whatever, and see how that affects me. And
That's
then
great.
Maybe walk up.
That's great. So you could actually like map out a little plan, you know, and I like the idea of having kind of like a coach or a support person that's with you. And you could even kind of work it out in steps, Pete, where you step and you stay back and you look out at the horizon. But it's going to be really important that you look down and you actually look down and go toward your anxiety.
There you go. Yeah,
right?
That's good.
Go toward your anxiety,
yes.
right? If you're not feeling anxious, figure out what you can do to make yourself a little anxious, okay? And you do that and just stay there and wait and see what happens, right? Then you could take a step forward, and if you just taking a step forward and your friend being back here is too hard for you, you could have your friend step forward with you and do that in steps.
Right.
Until you and your friend are standing there and you're looking around and you're feeling comfortable.
Right.
Then what you could do is you could ask your friend to take a step back, and now you're on your own by a step, and you could look around and do it that way. But what I'm saying is that what you want to think about is the way to do it in steps.
Right. No, I agree.
You're going to do it in steps,
Yes.
and that would help. And then at the same time, you want to remember some of these things that we focused on about your thinking and how that you can use that.
Oh, be honest, it's already locked in.
That's great. I like to hear that.
Yeah,
That's really
locked
great.
in.
I think actually there's a good chance that you are going to be able to actually correct a big piece of this. But I want to suggest too is that if you run into a stuck point, you might really benefit from meeting with a behavior therapist for a few sessions to really work out a real concrete plan to actually help you move along with this.
Okay.
You know, and the great thing about phobias is that they're highly treatable, and actually they can be treated in a relatively short period of time. Like if, we were going to be meeting, I could probably in a matter of days, over the course of a couple of weeks, you'd be standing in front of balconies looking down from tall buildings, and you
Wow.
would, yeah. So it's a very effective treatment, and it can be done very quickly, and I think you're really a terrific candidate for it. I think you could really
thank
do
you
it.
very
So you
much.
can try these things, but I'm just saying, it's like if you run into a little trouble, it would be really great for you to get, some specific treatment for it, because I think
Okay.
you could really do well with it. There's no reason for you to be afraid of heights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Same thing with your claustrophobia. I know we didn't really focus on that, but the same kind of thing with the claustrophobia.
Well, the thing that I mentioned is that just using what you kind of taught me in this session, I think I can probably use it on.
Oh yeah? How so? How do you think?
Well, just thinking about what it is, and like you said, it's the anxiety, and that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when I was first locked up in the back of the truck,
Mm-hmm.
they asked me, they say, hey, are you scared of being locked up in it? I said, oh, no, but
Mhm.
I didn't know it at
Mhm.
the time. And then when they shut the doors, I went bunkers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that I was letting my fear just,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I just kind of say, hey, take it easy,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of focus.
That's right.
See, I wasn't focused.
That's
I was
right.
just going bunker.
Yeah, so you could apply what you've learned here. It's like, okay,
Exactly.
rather than just, dwelling on the fact that I'm anxious, how can I cope in a situation that
There
I'm,
you go.
that I'm, in the back of this truck with the doors closed,
Right.
It's like, well, when we get there, they're going to open the doors and it's going to be fine,
go.
and, that kind of thing. So, yeah, focusing on coping is really helpful.
Yes, and I think that's what will probably help me in that situation, and that's why I don't have no doubts. I know it will.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds great. So you can just apply that same kind of thing.
Exactly.
Sounds terrific. Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and stop? But this has been great. Good
Well,
luck to
thank
you.
Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Okay,
Yes, it
good.
has.
Thank you. Thank you.
I